Library. I'm your host, Kathleen Clifford. Joining us today is Kevin Booker Jr. Kevin is a local educator, a community activist for social change, and an entrepreneur. Kevin has a program currently in the New London school system, and he serves on the board at the Isaac School. He facilitates leadership and diversity workshops, mentors, and speaks publicly throughout the United States. Kevin is the recipient of the Eastern Connecticut State University's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Distinguished Service Award. He has also won the award for the NAACP Community Champions. Kevin is here today to talk about community conversations being held here at the Groton Public Library. Welcome, Kevin.
Yes, welcome, and thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. We're really excited to talk about the programs that you've had here so far and what's coming up in the new year. Tell us a little bit about some of the local volunteer events and opportunities you've been part of so far.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say it's a pleasure and honor to always be here at the Groton Public Library. I love this place. It brings so much great energy here. But some of the local stuff that I've been doing recently, I volunteer for the Red Cross, the Connecticut Rhode Island chapter. And we install fire alarms, and we help people who have issues with their home, as far as if their house burns down, we bring them to a safe location. I also do something really great that I've been doing now for the past 3 years is morning announcements for the students at Benny Dover Jackson Middle School. So I arrive there early in the morning, get there about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I do positive affirmations for the students. And I'll start off in different languages. At least 17 in different languages, because it's all the different cultures that are within the school. And I always say, make sure you have a positive day. You strive for 4s, because 4s are pretty much, that's the A, so they can strive to get an A within their school. And I have a group of students every day who help me out, and we work together to encourage the students to maintain positive behavior, to stay kind, make sure they say thank you, say hello to one another. And it's been fantastic, and I love doing morning announcements, and I will continue volunteering as long as I can within the area because I love doing it. And also, I also volunteer for a 3rd grade class at Jennings Elementary School, because I learned about a couple years ago that by the time a child gets to 3rd grade, if they cannot read or write efficiently, then that's how they actually determine how many juvenile prison cells they should build. So I said to myself, when I learned this in an educational workshop, I said, I need to make sure that I volunteer at a 3rd grade classroom within my area, because I knew that I know with all my heart, there are certain students who are probably struggling. And I said, I want to help those students who are probably struggling academically. And how can I get involved? And I actually volunteer, and I've been doing it now for 3 years at Benny Jennings Elementary School. And it's been dynamic, and I watched some of those kids grow, and now they're confident in their reading and writing, and also doing their mathematics as well. And it's been a great experience, and I'm having a great time working with those students. Because sometimes you go, you're like, I'm going to help someone, and you end up being helped.
Right, absolutely.
So I really enjoy volunteering and helping out in the community here in Southeastern Connecticut, and also just being within New London County as well.
That's excellent. How do you think you were guided towards your path of encouraging and empowering others? Was there something that came to you, or did it slowly come into your life?
That's a great question. When I think about how did I actually guide myself into volunteering and being involved in the community, honestly, it stems from my parents and my grandparents. And I thank them so much for just the love, the support, and just always being there. And I'm gonna give you a couple examples as to how being a parent and how it can just alter your child's life and what you do and how you model positive behavior. So I remember there was a time I pulled up at a gas station, and my dad, I was probably about 10 years old, and my dad said, you see that kid over there, he's gonna ask us to pump the gas for the car. He's really going to need some help. And he said, because he's probably really struggling at this moment financially. His parents probably do not have enough money. And my dad said, you know what, I'm going to help this kid out. I'm gonna help him out. I'll have him pump my gas, but I'm gonna also help this kid. And watching my dad demonstrate that type of behavior, generosity, and also helping out other students and having conversations with other students about issues that they were going through. And then another example that resonates in my head was when I was a sophomore in high school. And I remember this kid that actually was in my arts class, my art history course. And my mom, it was around Thanksgiving of my sophomore year of high school. And my mother, I came to my mom and I said, Mom, you know, there's this kid in my class. I really don't know this child too well, this student too well, but he needs help. His father just killed his mom. And I never forgot this. So I went to my mom and I said, I'm not sure if he has anywhere to go.
Oh, okay.
And my mother said to me, you know what? Our house is his house. Find out if he needs somewhere to go. Find out if he needs help. And that young man actually stayed with us for an entire year.
Wow.
My mother took him in. He wasn't a good friend of mine. He wasn't my best buddy. He was just a student in my class that he was more like an associate. But I remember that love and support. And my mother said, our house is your house.
Wow.
You're welcome. So my parents and my grandparents demonstrated that love for others. And I remember my uncle would always say to me, he would say, Kevin, when you see a problem, he said, you always have to remember, God created you. He said, to solve that issue, to make the change. He said, don't wait for someone else. You work on creating the change. You bring awareness to others. So I think, going back to your question, the love, the support, the models, the positive models, role models that I have in my life, from family and community members as well, have helped me to develop myself into the person I became today. And that's the reason why I continue to push forward, so that I can model positive behavior for the young people who are under me and for the generations that are under me as well.
That's fantastic. So you've hosted several programs here at the Groton Public Library. Community Conversations is what they're called. Let's talk about, tell us very quickly about the programs that you've presented so far. You've done some this past fall.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so some of the programs that I've done so far focused on drugs do not discriminate, only people do. And I just wanted to bring attention to the drug crisis that's occurring throughout the nation and also in Eastern Connecticut as well. And I wanted to shed light on how severe, the drug epidemic is within our nation and also within our county.
Right.
And it was a fantastic program. Kudos to the panelists that were there. They did a wonderful job, and it was a pleasure to have them as well. I also did one in September on voting and the voting process, and that was a fantastic program as well, where we shed light on what does it take, and it was bipartisanship, because I didn't want to focus on a party.
Of course.
I want to focus on the voting process, because a lot of people would say, my vote doesn't matter.
Right.
But I wanted to bring attention and create awareness as to your vote does matter and why your vote matters and why it's important that we all as a community, as a collective, get involved in the voting process. So that's one of the main reasons why I decided to have that particular panel and discussion, community conversation. And that's why I thank the Groton Public Library for having that as well. And then I also had a panel discussion on immigration and the immigration process. And that was a fantastic panel as well. And what shed light on that, what really made me have that particular conversation was I started to say, this nation is a nation of immigrants. Right. And I wanted to shed light on the fact that within the fact that this nation is a nation of immigrants, I wanted people to see that, there are people from all different backgrounds. What exactly is the process? What exactly are some of the issues that people are dealing with at this moment in time? And how can we actually create change within Eastern Connecticut so that we can be a model for the state of Connecticut and maybe even be a model for the nation as well?
Exactly.
And it takes conversations. It takes courageous conversations like we're having here at the Groton Public Library.
So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the community conversations and the programs that we're going to have in the new year. If you're just joining us today and you haven't attended any of the community conversations here so far, they are available on our GMTV website and our YouTube channel. So stay with us. We'll be right back with more from Kevin Booker Jr.
Sometimes there's no do-over. Some things you can't rewind. That's when an extra safety step could mean the difference between a close call and a call to 911. Simple steps save lives. Learn more at poolsafely.gov.
They gave me Vicodin after my knee surgery. They kept prescribing it, so I kept taking it. I didn't know it would be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Na 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 na, I love you so. I love you, I love you. La 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 la, la 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to At Your Library. If you're just joining us, Kevin Booker Jr. is here today talking about community conversations. Earlier, we talked about the conversations that already happened here at the library, but now let's talk about what's going to happen in the new year, 2019.
Awesome.
So I show here that the first program that you're actually hosting here at the library is on January 15th, and it's called When Life Gives You Lemons. What kind of program is this?
So when Life Gives You Lemons, I'm on the board of directors for Isaac Middle School, inter-district middle school within New London, Connecticut. And being part of Isaac board, Mr. Howes, who's the principal at Isaac, he approached me back in November, the first week of November, and he said to me, Kevin, I have this great idea, and we have a partnership with Connecticut College. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And he said, they're interested in doing a TED Talk with our students.
Middle school students.
Middle school students.
Fantastic.
So 11 years old to 13 years old. And he said, would you be interested in coaching some of these students since you teach public speaking at the college level? And I said, absolutely, this would be fantastic. So we had 3 weeks to prepare these 8 middle school students for a TED Talk that the world will see.
Wow.
And they all rose to the occasion.
That's fantastic.
They all were able to share some of their own stories and how they were able to overcome certain obstacles in their life.
Obstacles that they've already overcome at 12 years old.
12 years old, 11 years old.
Wow.
It was fantastic. So I said to myself, I would love to bring that to the Groton Public Library and also share with our community here on what these wonderful students have accomplished. Because many of them have given a speech 6 to 8 minutes.
Wow.
And to stand in front of 100 people and give a speech in middle school, I couldn't even imagine myself standing up, preparing myself on a Saturday, a Sunday, going home, practicing for this wonderful, wonderful event in front of hundreds of people and maybe even the world.
That's fantastic. So when you come here to the library, are you going to show the TED Talk?
So they're going to actually present.
They're
going
to come.
They're going to come and they're going to give their speech.
Excellent.
And then we're going to have a panel discussion about why, like some of the things why did they actually want to participate? Because this was they actually volunteered to do part of this wonderful event.
Excellent.
And then also, what was the process? to also inspire other young people as well who are in middle school or elementary school. Because these are, like I said before, 11, 12,
Right.
13 years old students. So how did they build up that confidence? And what actually made them, like, why were they inspired to want to practice and rehearse on their free time?
So that'll be really great to have people come in and see that.
Correct.
And then we're going to get right back into community conversations.
Yes.
So it looks like you have one scheduled every month, January through April. So we don't want to give too much away, but want to tell everybody what is going on each month. So in January, on January 23rd, you're going to talk about The Hate You Give.
Yes, a fantastic book, The Hate You Give. I'm going to actually have two extraordinary panelists who will be there. And I actually set it up in a way where I have this wonderful gentleman. I don't want to give too much away.
Okay.
And I have this wonderful lady. And they're going to have a discussion based off of the tension they may have had before they actually read the book and how the book changed their life.
Okay.
And it actually created a courageous conversation about race, about identity, and also it touched on issues that they were dealing with within their own lives.
Right, and preconceived notions.
Right, and how they were able to actually create a friendship, an everlasting friendship, based off of this particular book. So this is going to be fantastic, and I'm going to have two readings, two testimonies from high school students as well.
Okay.
And how they actually dealt with hate within their school and how they were able to move forward as a student. So it's going to be a fantastic program. I highly recommend people come out to see this program. They're going to have a great time. We're going to have great dialogue as well.
Excellent, and that's in January. And if you haven't read The Hate You Give, it's by Angie Thomas, and you can pick it up here at the library before January 23rd. In February, on February 27th, we have Conversations About the Green Book, which most people know it's a movie that just came out. Now, is that based on it's based on a true story?
That's based on a true story, but the Green Book, for many other people who are unaware from a historical standpoint,
Yes.
The Green Book was a book that was given to the African Americans created.
Okay.
And it was a book throughout the country, not just in the South. It was
Okay.
throughout the country. So, which will tell you which streets you could actually, so say in Connecticut, for example, it would tell you, okay, this is the black section of New London. This is the black section of Groton. This is the black section of Colchester.
And it was an actual
book called the Green Book.
Written down.
Written down as to where you could sleep, where was a safe place for you to stay. And many African Americans throughout the country, up until 1970s, used this Green Book to actually help them travel throughout the country. So roughly only 40 plus years ago.
Right.
And that just sheds light on, so what I'm doing with this conversation is I'm bringing in people who are in the 90s, 80s, and 70s to have a conversation on race relations in New England, and also just to also have a discussion as to, did they use the Green Book?
Right.
And if not, how were they able to navigate through certain communities and spaces here in New England and Eastern Connecticut?
Wow.
So because they're still alive, and they actually experienced this within their own life. And I would love to have this conversation. I haven't seen anyone have this particular dialogue.
This is really,
Right.
really, this will be great. And that's in February.
That's correct.
In March 27th.
March 27th.
Me Too movement.
So I'm doing a thing called a panel discussion called The Shades of Women. And I'm having women from various backgrounds, all different backgrounds, and different races, different class, everything. And I'm bringing them all in to have a discussion on the women's movement and what exactly is occurring and how can they work together as one. Let me give you a prime example. 2 years ago when we had the movement in Washington, the Women's March, I was there. And I never forget being there. It was such an exciting time. And I love being there because I saw so much positive energy and I saw how people came together as one. But I remember after that, a month after, and I was in a community conversation in West Hartford, Connecticut, and this woman stood up and she said, you know the problem with the women's movement, and she was a woman, and she said that women of all races do not come together. You only have white women who are actually the voice for the women's movement. So I said to myself, when you make an observation, you have an obligation, M.K. Asante. So I have an obligation to have this panel discussion so that hopefully this will foster courageous conversation as to how we can move forward as a collective, as so I can see women of all backgrounds, all different races come together to figure out how they can move forward in this Me Too movement. So it's just not one group that's being heard and not everyone. So that's the conversation I would love to have, because the conversation I have with many other women is that, you know, Kevin, I only hear white women who have a lot of money who are actually at the forefront of the Me Too movement. So I would like to see, Kevin, more women of all different backgrounds and their voices heard at the table.
Excellent. So that one will be in April.
That will be in March.
That
27th.
one will be in March 27th.
Right.
That's my birthday. How can we forget?
Awesome.
And then in April,
I gotta give you a high five for that. You know?
Thanks. Yeah. In April, we'll just very quickly tell us a little bit. The subject is climate change.
Climate change. So that to me, when you look at 2018 going into 2019, I feel like that's the #1 social issue that we need to address within our nation, is climate change. Yes, we have a lot of problems within our country, throughout the world, but the climate is affecting the entire world. And we need to have this discussion. I'm going to bring in a scientist, social activist, and I'm also going to bring in a professor, and just someone at the grounds level, the grassroots level, so we can figure out what we can do in our own community and how can we create change here in Eastern Connecticut and New London County as well. What are some of the steps that will help us move forward as a community so that we can also model for our community, our county, and also for the state as well.
Excellent. So we have a lot coming up in 2019.
Yes.
Let's see. If you need more information, our newsletter always has upcoming programs, so each month you can look to see which one's coming up. But do you have any way to contact you? Or social media? Do you have a website?
Absolutely.
How can we find you?
You can contact me. You can contact me at kevinbookerjr.com.
Okay.
You can also contact me through here, the Groton Public Library as well.
We know where you are.
And you can contact me through my own Facebook page, which is Kevin Booker Jr.
Okay.
And you can contact me on Facebook as well at Booker Empowerment LLC.
Okay.
And
Great.
I would also, I just want to say some of the other great work
Absolutely.
that I see happening within our community. We also have a program called the MAILS program, which is Men Achieving Leadership, Excellence, and Success. And that program there was created at Eastern Connecticut State University 20 years ago, but we have it here now at Benny Dover Jackson Middle School. Excellent. And Safe Futures is the actual organization that is actually sponsoring this particular organization to be at Benny Dover Jackson Middle School. And I'm very fortunate and I feel blessed to have Safe Futures, who actually fights for domestic violence, who are totally against domestic violence, and they're a great organization. And we're actually shedding a light on and helping a lot of these young men become positive, productive young men in our community by having this program at Benny Dover Jackson Middle School on Fridays after school.
Excellent. So if more people want information on that, they should contact you.
Yes, please contact me if you would like to know and learn ways how you can have this program within your school as well. And there's another program called Females that we have as well. That's coming to Benny Dover Jackson Middle School, and also we're trying to bring it to the high schools as well. But we would like to open it to the entire county so we can figure out ways how to get them in different schools.
All right, excellent. So we'll get more information on that. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Community conversations will be held here at the Groton Public Library starting in 2019. If you've missed any events so far, check our website. And as always, thank you for checking in.